Hey guys, so today we are going to review cluster 3, which for me as a teacher, that's just what we've done during second quarter. For you guys, it's basically like a halfway through second quarter review. In cluster 3, or 4 second quarters so far, we've talked about 3 different standards. We have talked about interpreting fractions as division, which would be NF3. We've talked about NF7, which is dividing unit fractions and whole numbers. And then we've also talked about NF4, which is multiplying whole numbers and multiplying whole numbers and fractions and multiplying whole numbers and mixed numbers. So on this part of the video, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and talk about what each of those 3 standards look like and the strategies that we've used to solve those. When we talked about NF3, so that's the one I'm going to start with first. And this is interpreting fractions as division. What we talked about with this was shared over who, or S over W. That has been our most important strategy that we've used so far. Anytime that we are looking at interpreting fraction as a division problem, the other thing that we talked about here was our cowboy and our horse theory. And that really helped us to change an improper fraction into a mixed number. So if I have 8 pounds of rice to share with my 5 friends, we could use shared over who in order to solve this problem. I would look at what are we sharing in the problem. Well, it tells me share, and I look back and it's rice that I'm sharing. Well, I have 8 pounds of rice here to share. Who is the rice going to? Well, it tells me friends, so I go back and I'm looking at 5 friends that I'm sharing it with. In order to set up this problem here, I would have to write my S over W. My share is the 8 pounds. My friends, there are 5 of them, so that gives me 8/5. Now, if you need help in remembering how to change this to an improper fraction, I use my cowboy and my horse theory. Remember that your cowboy is what goes inside of your house because we don't want a horse going inside of our house. So my 8 goes on the inside of my house. My 5 goes on the outside of my house. How many times can 5 go into 8? Well, 5 can go into 8 1 times. 1 times 5 is 5. I subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3. This number up top is going to be your whole number. This 5 is your denominator. The 3 is your numerator. That means that each of my friends would get 1 3/5 pounds of rice. Okay? Questions on that part? All right. The next thing that we talked about was NF7, and that is dividing whole numbers and unit fractions. You guys also quickly found that when we are doing this, there's kind of a pattern. If we look at 1/3 divided by 2, I can model this with an area model by drawing one model. Because I start with 1/3, 1/3 is less than 1, I have to split that area model into thirds. And then I have to split those thirds into 2 pieces. 1, 2. In order to find my answer for this one, I have to shade in one of those pieces. This is 1/3, and it's being split into 2 pieces. So I only need to know how much this one piece right here represents in order to find my answer. And if I look at that, it is one piece shaded in, and it is out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would give me 1/6. If we look, all I'm going to do is take that equation and flip it around. 2 divided by 1/3. In the fraction 2 divided by 1/3, I have to have two models here. And I have to take each of those two models and I have to split them into thirds. Here, in order to find my answer, all I have to do is count the number of pieces. And when I do that, I count 6 pieces. So what we found was if you start with a unit fraction, you're going to end with a unit fraction. If you start with a whole number, you're going to end with a whole number. So that's something to keep in mind. We also talked about word problems with these, and we talked about identifying some words that mean to divide. You guys talked about words like share, split, divided equally. Remember, each is kind of that funny word. It depends on the way that it's put in the problem, depending upon whether it means to multiply or divide. Okay, so anytime we're looking at word problems, those are just some keywords that we're looking for in order to see whether it is division or not. The last standard that we have is going to be that NF4, and that is our whole number times fraction multiplication. So if I have 3 times 1/2, I can model this problem. I need to draw 3 models. I need to break them up into halves. And I need to shade in 1/2 in each. Now, I can find my answer by determining how many pieces are shaded. 1, 2, 3 pieces are shaded. That's my numerator. Out of a total number of pieces that are inside of one model. 1, 2. That is my denominator. So now I have the fraction 3/2. Think about what type of fraction that is. It's an improper fraction. I can change it to make it into a mixed number. And my mixed number there is going to be 1 and 1/2. Okay? We also talked about taking this same exact problem, and all you have to do is make the 3 into a fraction. I can do that by writing 3 fraction bar and a 1 underneath, and just multiplying straight across as well. The other type of problem that we talked about here was looking at multiplying whole numbers and mixed numbers. For example, if I have 4 times 1 and 2/5, I can multiply both of these numbers together. I still have to change my whole number to an improper fraction or change my whole number into a fraction. And I do that simply by writing 4 fraction bar 1. I have to change my mixed number to a what? I have to change it to an improper fraction. So 1 times 5 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. That's my new numerator. I keep my denominator 5. And now all I have to do is just multiply straight across. So 4 times 7 is 28. 1 times 5 is 5. I have 28/5. Think about what type of fraction that is. It's an improper fraction. I can change it to a mixed number, and that answer will be 5 3/5. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me in Canvas and ask. Today, you are going to be completing a SchoolNet assignment. It is not a quiz. It is not a test. It is just an assignment, and it is on each of these 3 skills. The only thing that I need you to remember with this standard with NF4, we didn't talk about word problems when we talked about this standard, but you may see a question on there that involves a word problem. Remember that area equals length times width. So there may be a question on there that's asking you to find the area of something. You guys should be able to do it because it's like one of these two problems here. Okay? So if you have questions, feel free to ask, but that SchoolNet assignment does need to be completed and it is a grade. So you will be able to go back through SchoolNet and see your score at the end. We will review it when I get back.